Beth and I decided to do a really quick Zoom today because she is a dear friend of mine, and she is going to be facilitating a workshop this weekend. It's a retreat of Samhain, and I oftentimes pronounce that incorrectly, so I wanted to make sure I pronounced it correctly. And Beth is a priestess, and she's a witch. And I feel like the members of my group don't know as much about Celtic tradition and about witchy stuff. And we're both Sophia Circle leaders, and it's witches can have like a taboo-y kind of connotation. So I just wanted you to share what this incredible workshop's going to be about this weekend, because I'm very excited about it. And I know we're in great hands with you. And it looks like we're both wearing Mary Magdalene.
I noticed that. We both have Mary Magdalene on.
That's so cool. I love that. That's through the Sophia code. Yes. So say hello if you want to, and ask any questions as we go along. And I'm just going to let you take it from here, Beth. I'm really excited. The workshop, just by the way, or the retreat, is this Saturday at the Landenberg Loft. It's an in-person only type of event, and it's going to be packed full of all sorts of really delicious and yummy things that she's going to offer with her sister from 9 to 5. So I would let you take it over from here.
Thank you. We're so excited as well. We're looking forward to Saturday. So really what this is about, the whole day is organized around doing some content in the morning, some educational stuff, some connecting and meeting and sort of working through the different aspects of this time of year. And then in the afternoon, after lunch, we'll go into a high ceremonial magic, but obviously intended and built for people who are not very familiar with Samhain and what that means. So Samhain is the witch's new year. This is it coincides with Halloween, and it is the start of the dark season. This is the start of the season of death. And that all sounds very kitschy and super fun. But this is really about honoring the cycles of Mama Earth, honoring the cycles of the year. So there are all different Sabbats throughout the year that we honor, and they're all in alignment with the sun, in alignment with the seasons that we're moving into. So of course, Samhain, we're moving into the dark season. This is a Northern Hemisphere iteration of moving into the dark season, because in the Southern Hemisphere, they're moving into the lighter season. And what we do when we celebrate Samhain is we're coming back into balance. So a lot of times, I find for myself, and I find for people in my community and my clients, that there's this pressure to always live in eternal summer, in this eternal sunshine. So when we honor the cycles of Mama Earth, when we honor that, billion-year-old wisdom of Mama Earth, who's always moving through her cycles, we sort of start to feel into the fluidity and flow of life. Life cannot be sustained in eternal summer. Even Mama Earth has to go through all of her seasons. And this is the season for her where she's experiencing death. Her leaves are falling off of the trees. It's also the final harvest. That means that our ancestors were cutting down their final harvest, bringing in the final fruits of Mama Earth, all in preparation for the winter that was to come, the dark season. So by mimicking Mama Earth, we started out at the Landenberg Loft with a beautiful Beltane event, and that was back in May, and that was to usher in the summer. And now we're doing the Samhain event, which is about ushering in the dark season, and how can we shift into that energy and mimic Mama Earth, mimic her genius, so that we can experience those cycles. Does that make sense so far?
It does. And being a Leo, I'm like, oh, I'm going into,
So I'm a Scorpio, so I'm coming into my season.
All right. Yeah, it makes sense too, doesn't it? Yeah, we kind of light up when our birth date is. And yeah.
I love that. Yes. I certainly love Scorpio season. So, and it's a heavy season, and it's about honoring the season. So what we're doing at the Samhain event is really talking about what Samhain is, talking about the Celtic Wheel of the Year, talking about different ways that not just witches or Celtics or, the New Age community celebrates Samhain, but how this dark half of the year is really honored by many traditions all around the world. So all of us, are coming into this season of darkness. We're coming into our homes, we're retreating into our homes, we're cutting down the last of our herbs and the things in our garden, and we're getting ready to sort of come inward. And that's exactly what we do energetically, is like Mama Earth, who, the leaves are falling and everything's gestating and beautiful in the earth. We are also coming back into our homes. We're pulling our leaves in, and we're starting to do that inner work, that really reflective work, that emotional work. And Scorpio season, which starts on the 21st of October, Samhain, which is October 31st or November 1st, is in Scorpio season, and that's the season of emotions. That's a season of depth. So when we come into this dark season, we're getting ready to go inward. We're getting ready to do that reflective inner work. So that's a big part of what we're going to be doing, is talking about different ways to connect with the inner self, with our witch site or our divination or our intuition, however, whatever speaks to you in that regard. And also in alignment with the season of death. And that sounds, tragic, but all of us, in order to be reborn, have to go through this transformational death. So it's about allowing things to be shed, allowing our leaves to shed, and coming inward and really focusing on what we want to let go of. So it's it's like almost like a New Year's resolution, what we want to let go of and what we're bringing into the new year. And the winter, over the period of the dark season, what I like to do is be warm, be inside, keep that tiny light lit, that warmth, that tiny light from summer that helps me to see inward, helps me to see what no longer serves me, for lack of a better word, or what's been holding me back, realizing the patterns of my life that no longer sustain me, so that I can do that inner work, that deep emotional work, so that, when it's time to come back out, when the different Sabbats roll around or the spring rolls around, I'm ready to be reborn in a transformed version of myself, in a version of myself that let go the patterns and really embrace the wisdom of what we've learned all year long. We're letting go of the things that we don't need, and we're doing it intentionally. We're doing it with purpose. We're doing it with self-love and self-compassion. And this is also a very nostalgic time of year. We'll notice, all the family holidays are coming up. And that's another thing we talk about, is that the veil between the worlds is very thin. So people start to feel the energy of their ancestors. They start to feel the energy of their beloved dead hanging around. So this is a really good time, not only to do that introspective work and that, reflective work, but it's also a good time to honor and celebrate those that we loved who are no longer with us. It's a time to celebrate ancestral lineage that's come through us, whether they're the gorgeous lessons we've gotten from our families and loved ones, or they're the beautiful strengths that we've gotten from our family and loved ones that are no longer with us. And they're so close. Their energy is so close to us, it's almost tangible. So these are a lot of the themes we want to explore when we get together in the morning, and then we'll come together in high ceremony. And this is also the time of year we talk about protection. So with all of this energy floating around and everybody deep in their emotions, it sounds very beautiful, but there's a lot of emotions happening, and there's a lot of, with the veil so thin, there's a lot of spirits sort of roaming, and they're closer to us than they ever are at this time of year, this time of death where we honor death. And this is a great time to talk about protection work and how to take care of ourselves and protect ourselves, and make sure that, what we're processing is really ours and not something else, somebody else's emotions, or, a wandering soul that's coming through the space.
I love that, because I think a lot of times people don't, if you're aware, gosh, this feeling is really heavy, or this is denser. And then you know that it's a thin time of year. and you've got the tools like what you're talking about, then you can
Yeah.
question it and then, ask for those ancestors to whatever, right now
Mhm.
you're needing to leave my space or whatever you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the ones that are there for your highest and best good to come support you. But,
Yes.
and I do love that, this is such a good time to listen to what you're saying and to really go inwards and work with the earth, the cycle of the earth.
Yeah.
I do know also, though, that a lot of people get really busy around the
Mhm.
holidays and, start new things sometimes and push a little too hard. So I don't know if you have any words of wisdom as you're leading this retreat on, how you balance that out as well.
That is definitely something that before I was really honoring the cycles of Mama Earth, and that's actually exactly why I do. So when we honor this Wheel of the Year, we're really honoring the patterns that, our ancestors celebrated, or, the earth continues to celebrate. So as Mama Earth is slowing down, are we slowing down with her?
Mm.
And I find for me that when I operate out of alignment with Mama Earth, I lose the benefit of the season that I'm in. So if I don't take time to slow down and be present with myself, I'm going to bring all of the baggage I had last year into the new year, into the spring when I start to come out of my home. And I find that I used to get depressed in the winter. I didn't honor the winter's messages. I wasn't honoring silence. And I think, looking back, because we've been talking about this a lot lately, obviously, preparing for the retreat, looking back, I was having a hard time being quiet with myself. I was feeling this non-truth pressure from society, and whatever society is. It was the message I perceived the world to be giving me, is that I'm supposed to always be in eternal summer. I'm always supposed to be working and going and going and going and getting things done. And there was never a break. There was never a rejuvenation, never a inner healing and nourishment. So of course, the holiday season, and I love the nostalgia of this year. I mean, I think the most memorable thing for me was coming home on Halloween and having my mom always made chicken soup, like warm foods, nourishing foods. And that meant more to me than, it's what I remember the most. So of course, this time of year is beautiful and it's exciting to be with our family members. One of the things I actually do is I prepare for the Yule and Christmas season before, like I'm already moving through like preparing gifts and deciding where things are going to be, so that when I come into this slowdown of winter, I can just go in my house and I can enjoy my family, and we can sit on the couch and watch Halloween shows, Christmas shows, Yule, celebrate Yule. However you step into the season, we celebrate it. We love all religions. We love all celebrations in at the Witch and the Priestess.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is to just nourish yourself, pace yourself, and honor yourself and honor the silence. And if it's difficult to be, I think for me, I was always like shopping for the holidays until the very last minute, but it was me not wanting to sit with myself. It was me not wanting to listen to myself. In addition to this floating idea I had in my head that this was what the world expected of me, was to be a consumer and be a worker and get all these things done. And, honoring the seasons, it's like, oh, it's winter time. It's okay to relax. It's okay to like sit by the fire with my loved ones. It's okay to, just be. It's okay to be, this is a great time of year for meditation and silence. And I think when we intentionally move with Mama Earth, it gives us permission. It reminds us that we have permission, right? Because we have permission, and self-love and self-compassion are critical. And when we intentionally move through things, when we analyze ourselves and when we look at our patterns, they're hard things to look at sometimes. They're, for myself as well, it's never easy. I don't think it ever gets easier to do the reflective work. It just gets bigger and bigger, right? So it's, you do what you can. You do the reflection you can, you do the journaling you can, you do the introspection you can. And when you're finished, you take a break, you go nourish yourself, you eat something healthy, you take a bath, you do other ways of really just loving yourself. So this is the season of, the permission to go within, permission to slow it down, and savor the moments that matter.
I love that.
Mhm.
It's like coming out of the yang time of year when everything's
Yes.
bright, and then going into the yin, and then really, I really honor our ancestors because they had the opportunity before all this electricity and things, where they really did have to work with the seasons, and they didn't have a choice, and it was easy. It was probably
Yeah.
much easier for them to do that because their lives depended on it.
Mhm.
And now we have the choice to do whatever we want, whenever we want. And so it takes a lot more discipline.
Mhm.
But what keeps coming to me as you were talking about that, I'm feeling like more relaxed as I'm thinking about going into the winter with the way that you're describing things. And just to go to bed earlier. And, when you're cold,
Yes.
you just want to bundle up by the fire and just,
Mhm.
just allow yourself more of that downtime. So I think that's incredible.
Mhm. The winter
So
is a blessing. Go ahead.
it really is. So I just wanted to know, just have you explain a little bit more about what we're going to do, like some of the things we're going to do at the retreat. I know you
Yeah.
said a little bit, but there's you have all these really cool things.
So we are definitely going to come into the retreat. We come in together in the morning, and we sort of get into a really good space. We meet each other, we get comfortable with each other, and the community that's coming, our community that's been with us for a long time. They're so beautiful, they're so warm, they're so welcoming. And this is a retreat for everyone. We honor all religions. It's really just about connecting with Mama Earth. And so we're going to come together, and we're going to go over some content to sort of explain what we're going to be doing in rituals, sort of building up to what happens in ritual. So we give these little chunks of content, and as we move through the content, we kind of work through things like, what does divination look like? And divination sounds like a scary word, but maybe that's not tarot cards for you. Maybe it's not, energy sticks. Maybe it's what's coming through in my meditation. What are my clairs telling me? Your claircognizance, your clairvoyance, all the different ways that everyone is already incredibly intuitive. So we're sort of opening our inner eye to be able to see through the veil intentionally, because the veil's thin, whether we intentionally recognize it or not. So we sort of are going to be working with intention. It's going to be very quiet. It is going to be very, nothing's ever quiet with us, but it's going to be, very loving. It's not going to be like Beltane where we're dancing around the maypole and having a great time and painting
Right.
our bodies. This is a time of year where, we're being very loving and nurturing with ourselves. It's also, so we'll be working with divination, different ways to do divination. We're coming into a season of emotions. So one of the things that I do is I'm an advanced spiral practitioner. So we do a lot of emotional clearing. And what that really allows us to see is, we're not clearing away the emotions. It's about that there's a certain way to move into what emotions we have patterns of going through, and muscle testing using kinesiology to sort of identify what's the root cause of those patterns. How do we remove those patterns so that we can intentionally choose our emotions, rather than have our emotions choose how we respond to life. So all of our emotions are super valid and so beautiful. Your anger is valid, your rage is valid, your compassion and love and sadness, they're all valid. They're all beautiful messages from our body. So we're going to be doing some emotional work. And there's a real magic in being in community. So there's a lot of things that, I do by myself, and they're really beautiful. But when we're in the mirror of a loving community, a warm community, and we are co-creating with the divine. So there's Stephanie and I always bring an element of the divine into our space. You and I work with the Sophia code. So, Sophia is, God, and, those pieces are very close to my heart. So we set sacred space, we call in the divine, we call in our ascended masters, and we allow the ancestors that are there for our highest good to sort of come in and support the journey. So we're doing emotional work, we're doing divination work, we're doing journaling work, and we're having fun. So one of the elements that's really important for us to bring in is joy. It's joy, it's love, it's celebrating. There's nothing more human than mimicking Mama Earth, right? She's, coming into that human groundedness. So just really finding pleasure and joy and love in the present moment, with each other, with community, and learning from each other. It's amazing when I talk about bottled up emotions I'm having, and like 7 other people are like, same.
Yeah.
You feel the community, you feel that oneness of each other. So everything is so much more transformative in that like-minded community. So then we have a beautiful lunch. It's going to be full of apples and all these different spiritual foods. And we have options for all different types of people. I'm gluten-free, and we know all the different ways to keep it healthy and nourishing for everybody. And then after lunch, we do just a couple more things to prepare, and then we go into high ceremony. So do you want me to talk about what that might mean?
I have no
So
idea. We're excited.
So it just means that we're laying circle. It means, like we did in the morning when we called in all of our guides. In the afternoon, we're going to call in the elements together. We're going to ground into Mama Earth. We're going to call in the divine to really be with us. And we're really going to be present and intentional and sort of held in this sacred space. So in our world, in the Sophia Circle world, we call in we call in the directions. We're calling in our divine feminine ascended masters to protect us and support us, whatever we need for them in that moment. And that's what we do with the elements when we lay circle. And really, high ceremony means we're using ritual patterns that have been around for, I don't want to argue about but I don't want to even get into the debate about how long things have been around, but we're using ritual that helps bring us into that liminal space together. So when we're in circle, we call it the world between the worlds. That's the liminal space. And, that's where we do our work. And for me, it feels like being in that 7th plane of pure Sophia source consciousness. We're in that space. We're asking God or the divine, whoever you resonate with, as long as, it's coming in the highest good of the whole community, to help us get to that place where we can intentionally co-create the next version of us together. So that's what we do in high ceremony. I'm purposefully being non-specific because we don't want to give it, like when you come into ceremony, we're going to explain a lot of the pieces, what we're calling in, how we're laying circle. But then when we're in there, it becomes more of an evolutionary. We have like a skeleton of what we want to happen. But since we're co-creating this with the divine, oftentimes the divine has different plans for us. So we have to really like roll with what's going to happen, but we lay the groundwork, we create that sacred space, and then we move through. And it is a fire festival. So we will be working with candles. We're going to be working with a lot of protection. So everybody's going to be doing protection work and learning how to protect themselves. And blessing each other, and just really pulling all the different pearls from the day and pulling it into a very intentional self-love, nourishing circle together to move into the dark season the best way we possibly can.
Thank you. That was, now I have a better feeling for what it is, and I'm sure the community does as well. And I can't wait for it. It's this Saturday from 9 to 5 at the Landenberg Loft. And I'll leave information for anyone that is interested in joining. And, too bad some people that live far away can't do it, but maybe at some point you could do like a virtual something or other. Who knows?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We love doing virtual stuff. We love the global community. Continuing that oneness, right? Just that feel into.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it sounds like perfect timing. I think we all need this right now with the state of the world and everything else going on. So I'm knowing that it's going to be really, really special.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
you.
Yay.
Thank you.
We can't wait. We're so excited. Thank you so much for hosting me today.
Absolutely. And thanks for joining.